beautiful sound, isn't it? Let me show you how you can make it yourself. In this video I'll be talking about the Autoharp tuning, playing technique, recording and creating background music. Some time ago I saw Laraji playing the Autoharp and I fell in love with the sound of the instrument and I wanted to get one. Autoharps are not very popular here in Germany, so it took me a while to find a decent instrument, and in the meanwhile I even built one myself, but that's another story. In the end, I was lucky to get one on eBay. It's a basic model, it lacks some features, but it plays well in tune and I've been using it for over a year now. I will not go into the construction details of the Autoharp, and all we need to know is that it's chromatically tuned, and to get the sound we want, we need to retune it. The tuning I'll be using is called open tuning. That means that all open strings will sound as one big chord. And in my case, I'll be using the D sus4 chord, which consists of 5 notes. It's D, E, G, A, and B. And I will go from top to the bottom in this order. Some of the strings will be duplicating, meaning playing the same note, and I will show you as I go through the process. I'm using piano tuner, and we're starting from top. My Autoharp has 37 strings, and to evenly distribute notes throughout the entire range, I'm duplicating every single note. So starting from the top we have 2 Bs, 2 As, and so on. The very bottom 7 strings are reserved just for 2 notes, D and G. As you can see, I've also removed the chord bars. This is optional and I did it because of the technique I use to play the harp. How do you play? Okay, you can play with a pick, and you can play either scales or single notes. You know what I mean, right? I've seen Laraji play a metal drum brush and it sounds great through the pickup, but mine is missing and it doesn't sound good through the microphone, so I play a paintbrush instead. And here comes the most interesting part. You take a paintbrush. I think it's synthetic one, an old one, and it has this metal enclosure thingy that holds the, I guess, the hairs, and you can play it like this. If I'm hitting it with using this angle, it actually hits the string just with the hairs, right? It's very smooth. I actually can start hitting it a bit harder and change the angle. So then the brush will hit first with the hairs and then will also hit the string below it with the metal. Okay, so this is how it sounds. Sometimes I also use rubber mallets, but mainly to create a rhythm. So it sounds like this. I'm like taking a mallet and I'll be like playing here maybe just a rhythm, and then the other hand will be playing like a melody there. That's another technique you can use. Feel free to experiment. I think this is how I came up with this sound, and it works for me really well. For some other people, some other techniques work better. So I think it's all boils down to a combination of different techniques and different patterns, right? You can combine them together, and you can also use different techniques in different part of your performance. For instance, if you want to start with a little bit of a pick, or maybe even your fingers to make it a little bit more mellow. Okay. Then start with a pick, maybe with some melodies. Then maybe you want to introduce the brush, you know, and then it goes and goes and goes and goes. So experiment. Try to combine all this technique to create your own sound. Now comes the tricky part, the recording. If you're looking for a harp, try to get one with the pickup. It will make your life so much easier. But the basic model, like mine, don't have one. So I use 2 microphones. I get the best results with 2 small diaphragm condenser mics. I put one towards the bridge to pick up more of the high frequency notes, one here or there, and the other one in the center to pick up the bass. And when I finish the recording, I just pan those two channels to left and right and add some reverb. Now let's talk about the background music. In general, this type of music or this type of sounds is called ambient pads, and there are a lot of tutorials out there, but let me show you how I do that. I have a live set created in Ableton Live. It's a light version that has 8 channels only, but this is more than enough for this kind of music. In this project, I have a couple of ambient pads, for instance, this cave talkers and sitar, and a couple ear candies, as we call them, something that just plays every once in a while to entertain the listener a little bit. If I open marimba, it plays as a loop, which is 7 bar long, and it only plays 2 notes there. But because it plays every 7 bars, it doesn't create this feeling that it's a repetitive sound. It actually feels more natural. I have the same for piano. This loop is 19 bars long, so that means those piano notes are playing very, very rarely, but again, it creates very nice atmosphere. And let me play you the actual pads. It's just one note, plays with some just one note. Let me turn everything off. As you can hear, it's not a very pleasant sound, isn't it? But then, once I add a reverb with high cut filter and another one with another filter and diffusion network that cuts off all the high frequencies, it's really nice and it's still cutting through. Then adding a slight compressor. This is just control if there will be any peaks, and that's it. That's how it sounds. So yeah, it's all about extending the sound, making it a bit more mellow and flowing through the time, and removing all the attack of every instrument. So you can actually do it with any instrument. If you combine more pads, then you will have even richer sound and you create even more variation. For instance, for sitar, I'm playing a bunch of notes. Again, it's like a 20 bar long loop. It's all around the same root note, which is D in my case, to match the Autoharp. It just creates a little bit of movement here. Then marimba adds. I also have a little bit of a drone noise, piano, and that's pretty much it. One last thing that I do to make all those instruments sound in one space, I'm sending them all to my effect channel, which is set for another reverb, which is then mixes back to the master, makes them sound in one space. Yeah, this is how I do that. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one. Bye.